Rereading doesn't help. You know it, I know it. Yet, that's exactly what you do when a CSAT passage confuses you. I used to do the same, waste more than 15 minutes on just one passage. But here's what I discovered: the passage wasn't the problem. My brain's approach to it was. This video consists of two parts. This is the first part in which we are going to learn how to read and understand a CSAT passage. And in the second video, we are going to understand the demand of these different question types asked in the exam and how do we fulfill this exact demand. So stay with me for the next few minutes. Reading comprehension is the most scoring and easiest part of CSAT, yet we lose marks, especially in the current scenario when UPSC has raised difficulty level of passages, making it tricky and confusing to arrive at the right answer. Therefore, we should be prepared for the worst. No shortcuts and no tricks. Just pure logic and skill. What is the major problem when we read a passage? We reread the same passage again and again, wasting time that reduces overall number of attempts. This problem is more pronounced when passages are philosophical or tricky. We are going to address this exact problem in this video. So please stay tuned with me for the next few minutes. So, what's the approach? You don't reread the passage. Instead, you read it just once, but in a way that gives you complete understanding and picture of what the passage is about. How do you do that? You might have heard reading between the lines many times, but do you know how to do that? Let me demonstrate it live. So this is the 2025 PYQ. So let's start reading. All right. There has been no democracy that has grown economically without corporate capitalism. That means this line is trying to tell us that if there is no corporate capitalism, that means there is no economic growth. Now let's move ahead. It helps in modernizing the economy and enabling the transition from rural to urban and agriculture to industry and services, which are inevitable with growth. These lines are talking about the role of corporate capitalism in different aspects of growth and development. Modernizing the economy is the economic angle. Transition from rural to urban is basically social change, right? And then we have agriculture to industry and services. That means it is talking about structural change of the economic system, which are inevitable with growth. Then it generates jobs, and there is no other way to fix the country's unemployment challenge without a further impetus to private business. Now, this is a very strong statement or an absolute claim given by the author. That means, according to the author, if you want to solve your unemployment challenge, this can only happen if the economic system of a country gives impetus, or you can say supports, private business or capitalism. This is an argument. And is it backed by any claim? Why should we believe this? Is there any support, evidence, logical reason given by the author? Let's see. Big companies can operate on a large scale and become competitive both domestically and externally. There is no fact I can see to support this argument. Then, a vibrant corporate capitalist base also leads to additional revenues for the state, which in turn can be used for greater welfare for the marginalized and creating a more level playing field in terms of opportunities. Now, these lines are talking about how corporate capitalism, because it can grow domestically and externally, that means more profit. More profit means more sources of revenue through tax for the state, and this revenue can be used for marginalized section. That is, it is talking about social welfare. And because this revenue is generated by the capitalists, that means it is also talking about the fiscal health of the state. State don't ha- doesn't has to The state doesn't have to borrow money, right? So it is talking about how even the marginalized and poor section can be benefited from this corporate capitalism system. So what have I just done? I have not just understood the passage, but I have done something called reading between the lines. And once you do this, I can tell this with 100% surety that you will never go back and reread the passage again and again. You don't have to search for answers when you read the question. In fact, just by doing this, you can answer questions even without looking at the options. You think I'm kidding? Let's try. I have a PYQ here. So I'll just focus on this one. So this is UPSC PYQ. I'm just showing the question for the passage. Which one of the following statements best reflects the critical message conveyed by the author of the passage? Now I'm not looking at the options. What you can do is you can pause this video and just with the help of this, try answering this question. What could be the critical message of this passage? Pause and try. So the passage or the author is basically trying to say that if a country wants to grow and develop, corporate capitalism is inevitable for not just economic growth and development, but also political and social development. Let's see if I am somewhere close. All right, so these are the options. So, of course, we have to choose the best one. So, the first option says corporate capitalism is important for economic growth of a state and also for democracy. All right, makes sense. So, let's keep this. All right, so let's keep a dot here on hold. Corporate capitalism is imperative for a modern state to achieve its political objectives. Okay, so the passage does talk about political growth because it is talking about uh, democ- a democracy, right? But see, the passage doesn't just talk about political objectives. In fact, the whole passage is stressing on economic growth, right? So, this statement, although it is true, but it is not reflecting the critical message. So, it is a very narrow option, I would say, narrow scope. So, definitely not. No state can ensure its economic survival for long without the role of corporate capitalism. It is saying no state. All right, maybe let's put this on hold too. Corporate capitalism and democracy have mutual dependence for their continued existence. Okay, so there is nothing in the passage that is talking about mutual dependency. The central idea is more about corporate capitalism, one way effect, not a two-way impact. So, this is definitely not the option. Now we are left with two options. Let's reread. Corporate capitalism is important for economic growth of a state and also for democracy. Yes, this is true. The passage does talk about democracy and economic growth. All right, the keyword here looks like important. Now look at the third option. No state can ensure its economic survival for long without the role of corporate capitalism. Okay, this option is extreme. Now, just because it is extreme, do you think I should eliminate this? Of course not. Look at the keywords. No state. Now let's go back here. It is telling here in this line, it generates jobs. There is no other way to fix a country's unemployment challenge. That means only corporate capitalism is a way to solve unemployment challenge, that is economic problem challenges of a country. That means this option is catching the essence of this passage, how the author is stressing on corporate capitalism's inevitability. Whereas the first option is just talking about it is important. This option seems too weak to sum up the critical message. So C is the answer. Now you might be thinking that many coaching institutes have released their keys and given A as the right answer, and I am saying C is the right answer. So of course, when the official key is released, we will know what is the right answer. But till then, let's go by logic. So the rationale given for debunking such statements is that if a statement is extreme or it consists of words like only, such statements are eliminated purely on this basis that they are extreme. Now, these are myths or something called preconceived notions that are prevailing in the market. And if you go by such myths, you are bound to fail this exam. These tricks might have worked earlier, but now, especially when UPSC has raised the bar and set a particular level of expectation and demand, such tricks will not work. What will work is pure logic and reason. And if logic says this is the answer, this is the answer. I will be solving more such CSAT passages in the next part of this video releasing soon, where I will also be demonstrating what should be the approach for solving different types of questions asked in CSAT passages like assumption, inferences, etc. So make sure you subscribe and hit that like button if you find this video informative and useful. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.